Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again. You will stop hearing that phrasing soon, but for now, to the tier list, the ultimate tier list. The ultimate tier list with emphasis on the real part. Look, last episode we had the mammoth, the behemoth of a B tier closer. Just shy of an hour, and there was a lot to get through there. Today, it's much shorter. We are going to get all of the A tier done today because it's shorter, but it also means that, it's more of an exclusive club, and yeah, an interesting range of people here. I think, for the most part, it's bang on. But, well, it can't be bang on if I think it's, for the most part, bang on. If it's bang on, all of it has to be. But anyway, I digress. So, today, as I say, we're going to do the entire A tier. This shouldn't be more than 25 minutes long, I'd hope. But I've said things before and they've horribly backfired. So... we will just get straight into it then. At this point, there's not many surprises left as to, oh, that person's in the tier list. I forgot about them. But at the same time, there might be one or two people who you'll be a little bit unaware of until they're mentioned. So, into the final straight we go, and we will start with a little bit of a controversial one. I'd say little bit. It's going to be comparatively very controversial to the end of the B tier, where I had 3 or 4 players who were literally just borderline not in A tier. And judging by who I've put in A tier in comparison here to start us off, I understand why people could think it's a bit of a dodgy start. But I am giving this to him. I am being lenient to him based on potential. Maybe he should be penalised for that as well, because he himself limited his own potential with blocks. But they were an incredibly good Nikolai, a very fast Nikolai, and genuinely I'd say one of only 3 or 4 Nikolais who were just consistently really good at their own style of play. Really good and consistent. Anyway, it's Pietro, or Peter Zay. As I say, it could be seen as controversial, I get that, but again, this is just opinions. I think in terms of pure talent, Pietro could easily have given Lin a run for his money. He was more than happy to face 95% of the best players, but then when it came to, the elite elites, who we'll mention later, Pietro just didn't really want to face them. And again, maybe that's what should limit him to B tier. It probably should. So we're not off to a good start here. But I'm still going to stick with him in A for now, but it's very borderline. Again, as I say, based on potential, I've given him the benefit of the doubt here, and now looking at it, yeah, I'm not as convinced. But Pietro is probably the single fastest Nikolai I've seen in terms of switching cams, going on guns. Lin Kuei has every step, planned out ahead of time. Pietro is the most on-the-fly Nikolai. Just the way he cycles and rotates his cams, it's very, very quick, and it's just click, 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 and he's in place and ready to go, whereas Lin is methodically picking the next camera. So yeah, Pietro though, if you aren't on it, if you're having a bit of a sluggish day, then you don't really want to face him because he is going to run rings around you purely from spamming the R1 button to get to another camera. So, yeah. Anyway, the next two in the A tier are going to be kind of grouped together because I've played with one of them more than the other by a hell of a lot. But at the same time, these two were not better, but I didn't see their peaks live. I'm acting like every game ever is live streamed. But in the case of Bacon and Grits and Kai, I haven't played much with Bacon, but when I did play with him, he was good. I've seen clips of him, and he's very good, very consistent, very sturdy and resilient. And Kai is similarly consistent, resilient, a good, reliable player. I played much more with Kai. He's a lovely guy. Always had fun with him. But at the same time, even though when I played with Kai, he was still very, very, very good, I also didn't see him when he was playing the game every single day. Like, I didn't play with him when he was playing every single day. I'd bump into him as Mastermind sometimes. His Alex was pretty good. His Daniel was pretty good. But I didn't get to see enough of Kai when he was having those sweaty matches day in, day out. I know how good he is. And I've watched old matches of his. But again, it's just one of those things where time wasn't as kind for my full viewing experience to be able to take place. If I was able to see more of the gameplay live, I'm sure those two could be higher in the A tier. But for now, I'm like, yeah, they are here. They didn't use the more like technical survivors as much. More the ones that kind of, were just the reliable survivors who you could play, and just not that there was leeway with Tyrone and Valerie, but like you don't, unless Valerie's against the Trap Alex, there isn't technical things as high as like one-shotting or having consistent pressure to kill a bioweapon. With Tyrone and Val, it's just about being a consistent, steady presence. And by all means, they still do that wonderfully. But yeah, I didn't see them consistently in sweaty matches as time went on, which could have elevated them further. Because, even in the more recent customs of a year or so back, the level kept increasing. People kept getting better and better. But nevertheless, for now, Kai and Bacon will be the next two in the A tier. Following those two is a woman of, I'd say many words, because she is. She does say a lot without actually saying a lot sometimes. Because she doesn't always use her mic, to say the least. Anyway, she's a lovely girl. Always got on really, really well with her. She gets on well with everybody. One of the more unique, fun, kind personalities in the community. And yeah, just good to have to keep the right atmosphere, the right attitude in the game. Sims is, just a role model for how people should behave in Resistance. And she's also a very, very good player on top of that. I think if you asked me 2.5 years ago if Sims would be here in my tier list, I'd say not quite. I do think there was a period of time where Sims was just a little bit given too much credit. She was always very good, but there was times a couple of years ago where she was making little mistakes that other super, super, super good players didn't make as much. But as time went on, Sims continued to learn, continued to get better, and she just, yeah, she's just a really good all-round player. Obviously, she mains Valerie. She does an excellent job with Valerie. She got better as time went on at not dying much. She knows blind spots. She knows when and how to loot properly. She's just a good all-round player, stable. She's a really good Jill as well. Jan can do a job. And yeah, she'd be higher if I saw her on a couple more survivors at a super high level. But by all means, like, her Valerie gameplay, like, there isn't many Valeries better than her. Like, I can't even count them on a single hand. And yeah, as I say, her Jill is really underrated, actually. Sims is a really good Jill. And as I say, Jan is very solid too. Moving on, we have somebody who has played a hell of a lot, somebody who has played most characters a hell of a lot, somebody who may have pissed some people off a hell of a lot. It's finally time for me to insert myself into this tier list. Yeah, and here I am, 5 into the A tier. I think it's a fair placement. I didn't want to overrate myself or underrate myself, you know. I don't think that's a good thing to do. I don't want to be... I don't think either one is nice to be, like, ingenuine about. If I overrated myself, it just comes across as ridiculously cocky and arrogant. Like, if I believed I was S tier, I'd put myself S tier. But, again, I didn't want to underrate myself, especially because then the comment sections could just be a circle jerk of, oh, Nick, you're an A tier player. Why didn't you put yourself down? It's like, nah. I've judged myself just as I've judged everybody else. In terms of the players I've mentioned so far, do I think I have an individual character better than Sims's Valerie? No. She's better at not dying than me. Don't get me wrong, I've really improved on stupid deaths. But Sims is, yeah, she has the best character out of us two. Having said that, I've put myself above her because I can play Jan, Jill, Sam, and, well, I can fill in with Val. She's not one of my best, but I'm better with Val than most people are with, you know, their 4th best character. My Tyrone is a fucking shambles. My Martin barely exists. And Loki, I think I'm one of the best backers as well. But anyway, my Jill is my strongest. I mean, people have different opinions. Whenever I've asked them who my strongest character is, some have said Jan, some have said Jill, some have said Sam. And in some ways that's a good thing, in other ways it's not. Because I do think I've had really good games with all of them. But I've also, you know, never been able to push one of those 3 characters far enough to say, yeah, this is my main. I mean, in the last year or so, it definitely has been Jill, who I play the most in sweaty games. And yeah, I'm very happy with the level I'm at with her. My Jan is at a good level. It's one of those where I do think my Jan... I'd be more confident in my own Jan if I was around... I don't always play her in the sweatiest matches. Like, with other people, like the best Jans you can think of, you know, they'll have super, super good teammates around them. But like, if I'm playing Jan, it means like Dominic isn't available to play, or Bam isn't available to play. Whereas, if I'd be playing with Dom or Bam, I'd be on Jill, and that would be, solid support for them. Whereas when I'm on Jan, most of the time it's probably because it's just filling a gap in, because it's in a team that's a bit more cobbled together. And that's not in a bad way, it's just, my Jan isn't always given the best environment for me to play at her best. So yeah, Jan is probably my best, but there's better Jans than me. So it's one of those where I'd say only a handful of Jills are better than me. But yeah. Anyway, when it comes to Mastermind, my Nikolai is honestly incredibly temperamental. Some days I can put in a really solid competitive match with my Nikolai. Other times I'll just be so rusty for such a long period of time, and I'll just consistently lose to any good team with like 2 minutes on the clock, and it's like, come on, Nick, pull your finger out your ass and actually just get the win. Like, yeah, my Spencer is good, but at the same time, it isn't difficult to be a competitive terminal Spencer. By that I mean, keep the timer down to a couple of minutes. But no, I have had some good matches as Terminal Spencer. He's my best. I think if I played him consistently, then I'd be really good with him. I think right now it's like I can have good matches with Spencer, and then other times I wouldn't have played him for a bit, and then it's like, I need to warm up. But then by the time I've warmed up, it's like I've lost 2 matches already. I can't be bothered. So yeah. But anyway, overall, I think this is a fair placement for me. Give me your thoughts below. I want your thoughts on my placement more than anything. It's part of what makes the tier list fun, after all. Yeah, I've rated everyone else. You guys can rate me. But no, I think I've got it about right. And we will now move forward with somebody who I believe is probably one of the most improved players in the whole game. He was always good, but this guy has put in so much effort and training in the last couple of years that I kind of wish, or in the last year, should I say, but I kind of wish that he was improving to this level just like a year earlier, when there was more of the top players playing and consistently having customs. Because if this guy was hitting the peak he's at now, like a year earlier, then I think it would be like well known that he was one of the very best in his characters. It's Peachy, the amazing Peachy. He's great. He's such a good January. He has improved so much. He's put the hard hours in. Like, he is... Oh, I can't remember what rank he is now. Is he like mid 700s, late 700s? He might even be 800 now, I can't remember. But he's excellent as January. He was always good, but as the months passed by, you could see him improve. You could see him learning new tech. You could see him managing cameras that bit better, saving the extra bullet to blow a cam out, always keeping cameras on watch and on tap and turning around and getting time off them at the last second. Just excellent play from him. He's also a really good Terminal Spencer, though he doesn't play Mastermind anymore, maybe because of lag. I never found out an actual reason, but back in the day, Peachy was a really solid, good Mastermind. And he's also really good on Jill. Really, really good on Jill. Like, I mean, we're getting to that stage of the list where if you're good with Jill, you're probably really good with Jan as well. And that goes for Peachy as well. So, yeah, we had Yo Girl texting me and Wolfsteck, who are really good Jan and Jills. And then Peachy is, an even more improvement of that. And, well, I play Jan and Jill as well, so yeah. But no, Peachy, like, if you asked me a year ago where would he be in the tier list, I'd say, yeah, he'd be getting towards the top of B tier. Like, I'd say top 15 B tier. But now he's like, to me, undisputed A tier. He's brilliant. And as I say, the only shame is that he wasn't playing at this sweaty level just a year or so earlier when, because he's been at a really, really, really good level for a year now. So if he was at that level a year earlier, he'd be, having custom games against Pep, against IDK, against Pietro, against Halojack, just loads of Nikolais, Wolprez, all the Nikolais who always wanted customs, basically. And he'd be able to show how good he really was. But yeah. After Peachy, we have somebody who has really... It's quite a similar story to Peachy, actually. This player hasn't improved as much as Peachy because they were just really good from the very first game I played with them. But they have branched out to be really good with more survivors now. It's Aaron's. Aaron's, again, it's similar to Peachy, terrific player. But when I first was playing with Aaron's, they were really, really good Val. But then I didn't really see them on anyone else. Then they played some Jan and were good. And then over time, just strayed away from Val a bit more. Still plays Val a hell of a lot, but improved significantly with January. And they're a top tier Jill as well. Aaron's is a phenomenal Jill, a excellent January, an excellent Valerie. And to be honest, I even faced Aaron's Samuel, and they were good even with him. So, yeah. Aaron's is a quality player, and again, a bit like Peachy, not so much, because Aaron's did play in a lot of sweaty customs already, but if Aaron's was here just like a year or so before, at that highest level, they'd be undisputedly known as one of the best Vals, Jills, whatever you like. Following that, we have... See, I've got them in brackets here because it's difficult. Because in terms of pure talent, I do think that Gaston, or Gaston, however it's pronounced, Gaston, I think, from PC is one of the very best players. Like, I've watched their streams, their movement with Jill, their dodging technique, their shooting accuracy, it's all second to none. It's at a ridiculously high level, and I would want to put Gaston in the S tier, S plus tier, but I've had to have some restraint because at the end of the day, I don't have full answers. Nobody does, nobody will. We haven't seen Gaston on PlayStation, which, again, without being elitist, is definitely the highest level of resistance. So until I see Gaston in a PlayStation environment, it's hard for me to just say, yeah, okay, I've watched your gameplay, you are excellent, you're S tier, but then you've never faced Link Wei, you've never faced Dom, you've never faced, all these guys. And again, I don't want to rank someone down purely because they don't have a PlayStation, but I'm not ranking them down because they don't have a PlayStation. I'm ranking them down just because it's a question mark. I don't know. It's a tier list based on every Resistance player, and that means that I have to rank everybody based on every information I have. As I've said, if you are a more versatile player, you have more of a chance of being higher because you can show more in more areas with your characters. And the same goes for, who you've played against. If you do better against amazing masterminds, props to you. If you're a mastermind who's beaten amazing survivors, big credit. So, yeah, I have no doubts that Gaston would easily be one of the best players if he came to PlayStation. And that's why I've put him midway through A tier, because I know he's great. But for him to be S or higher, I just need to see undeniable proof, which is something we don't have. Anyway, following Gaston, we move into the final 5 of the A tier. And we're going to start off with somebody who is widely renowned as the best pusher, one of the best leaders in the game. It's Jared James 4. His Tyrone is one of the more consistently aggressive and stubborn, in a good way, Tyrones. He is very sturdy, very good, very knowledgeable. He's great with Valerie. He's, again, another underrated Jill, actually. And yeah, Tyrone and Sam, he's top notch with. Jared is just an all-round great player who can fill in with many survivors in a custom game, and that's very important. Like, it's great having the best Sam in your lobby, but at the same time, if they can only play Sam, and then there's another amazing Sam with you, it's like, who's then going to fill in on January? Like, whereas having Jared, he'll do Tyrone, he'll do Valerie, he'll do Sam, he'll do Jill, whatever. And he's very good. Following Jared, we move on to somebody who is a bit of a maverick in terms of their gameplay. They're not entirely conventional with their equipment, with their builds, but by all means they have a encyclopedic knowledge of the game. They give running commentaries basically every time they play, saying they'll do this, they'll do that, and by all means it doesn't always work out for them. There are times where they do have a bit of a brain fart, but by all means still an excellent player and a funny personality too. It's the French Reaper. Now, Frenchie is, he's excellent with a lot of survivors. His Martin is fabulous. His Samuel is great. His Jill is great. His January is actually underrated as well. He's slippery with her, and if his shot accuracy was better on cams with her, he'd be right up there with her as well. His Valerie's not really a thing, and his USB backer absolutely disgusts me. But yeah, he's also a very, very competitive, sturdy Nikolai, and just, overall, a very good player, very fun player, very unique play style, and entertaining to watch play as well. So, into the top 3 of the A tier. I'll give you a second to think. Who do you think it is, the top 3 of the A tier? Give me your thoughts, give me your predictions on the fly. Like, you don't need to comment them, but just think to yourself, who's coming up? Well, spoiler. Spoiler. Third place in the A tier is going to go to Ranger Danger Live. Now, I put a lot of weight in versatility, and in terms of that alone, Ranger would be top 2, 3, 4 in the game for how good he can play so many characters. Ranger can be competitive with every mastermind, and he can do a job on a number of survivors too. The thing with Ranger is he isn't higher, he isn't in the S tier, purely because I also don't think he had a real like top quality standout in the survivor side anyway. His Terminal Spencer was one of the best. His Nikolai was very good. Like, again, he could do a job with every Mastermind to a degree. But on the survivor side, he was good. Very good, sturdy player. But at the same time, if you ask me, like, everybody else in the A tier, like, there's so much star power on the survivor side. Like, people I've mentioned already who are really, really good survivors. And by all means, again, Ranger was a really, really good survivor too. But he wasn't gonna pull something randomly out of the fire. Like, Ranger is somebody who's good to have there. He can be the glue to stick everything together, but he's not gonna, like, single-handedly burn the Mastermind either, or clutch something from nowhere. And that's not an insult either. He's very good, very deep knowledge of the game. Just, yeah. His versatility drags him up to A tier, near the top of A tier, but his versatility also does low-key stop him being S tier, because he doesn't have, like, that wow star power moment in him as well. In second place in the A tier and taking the silver medal, we have somebody who, well, I mean, I honestly can't talk about this guy without you guys guessing it immediately. Because if I just give you hints, you're going to know who it is. So I'll just say it as Bam. I can't say, oh, they're a player who you know, has a go with USB and stuff. It's like, no, it's obvious. It's Bam, okay? He loves his USB. He took Jan to new heights with USB. By all means, like, if he played pure meta Jan, he'd still be right up there anyway. But the fact he does do it with USB as well, it's just extra credit. Like, that takes balls, that takes skill, and that takes real good knowledge of when and where he can do what he does, because he has to press doors, he has to do terminals. These things require even more thinking ahead. Jan has to think ahead already, but it just requires that extra level of meticulous planning. And Bam, over many, many thousands of games, has, you know, grafted out his art of USB Jan. By all means, he can play the other characters well too. His Valerie is very solid, actually. His Samuel is a fun time. His Becca, again, USB Becca disgusts me, but he's a good Becca. He's a good Jill. He's actually underrated on Mastermind. If he played that more, then I think he'd make a solid name for himself. He's capable as Nikolai and Daniel. He's got really good movement with Mr. X. But yeah, we all know what we know him for. And the fact he plays USB Jan to the highest level, it's just extra credit to him. And rounding off the A tier, we are going to go with somebody who is a very, very, probably one of the most reliable players in the game. Like, they rarely have a bad performance. They'll always be sturdy, always be good, always give like a 7 out of 10 performance at the least. They are very actually versatile and flexible for somebody who purely mains Tyrone. They don't. But for somebody who mains Tyrone, they are flexible with him, is what I meant to say. It's Conqueror. Now, by this, I mean, like, Conqueror will gladly kick a bioweapon and then have an LE5 on his hand and kill the bioweapon with his LE5. Yeah, he's very entertaining to watch as Tyrone, and not many people are. Tyrone isn't fun to watch, but Conqueror is. And yeah, he's just an excellent player. He'll always know what's going to happen, have the next step ahead of him planned out, and he'll always have like a contingency plan as well. Like if something goes wrong, he won't waver. Like, don't get me wrong, he gets fucking pissed off sometimes, but he always, like, if a match isn't done, Conqueror will be able to like pull his team back from a very difficult situation and help them pull it out of the fire. He always puts pressure on the Mastermind. He balances what he needs to do perfectly. Like he isn't, because he plays with Bam so much as well, he doesn't only just kick doors down like so many Tyrones do. Like Conqueror will gladly balance a camera for you as well. He'll gladly keep a door open that's further ahead of him instead of kicking one behind him. Like he will let Bam do doors as well. He'll balance cameras for Bam. Bam will balance doors for him. It works beautifully. And Conqueror is just an all-round excellent player. He's excellent with Tyrone. His Valerie is top. His Jill is very good. Another underrated Jill. And obviously his Sam's good as well. Like if you're good with Tyrone, you're probably going to be good with Sam. Too bad that doesn't go for me, who's really good with Sam, yet fucking god-awful with Tyrone. But anyway, Conqueror is also a very good Alex, and very capable with her traps. Anyway, that will end the A tier. It's still gone on for 37 minutes. We only had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We had like 13 players, and it's gone on for 37 minutes. God, I am a mess. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Give me your opinions below. Where would you rank me in your tier list? Do you disagree with my other choices? Do you agree? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? Do you think M. Weston 4 is a clown? But on that little poetry note, we will end it there as we go into the final few names. Again, it's been chill since I've uploaded these last couple of videos. Let's keep it that way. But by all means, give me your opinions nevertheless. I will see you guys again for one of the final videos in the next couple of days. And until then, take care and have a beautiful day.